It's March 30. Does anybody listen? It's March 30. Yep. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. March 30. Monday's the 31st. And April 1 is on Tuesday. Yeah? We start. So we have the end of the first quarter in a couple of days. And 2 days and 1 night. I noticed that producers, can you have me join in on the conversation? There we are. And look at that, there's the Constitution right there, Constitution. Yep. We the people. Amazing, they hand wrote that, the Constitution. It packed a lot in a sentence, I can tell you that. I have this little booklet. 35 pages. And this is typeset back in those days. I don't believe we had a printing press yet. I don't think so. No typewriters back then. 250 years ago. They hand wrote it with pen and ink. The ink is so fragile that the National Archives has our Constitution in the special chambers so that sunlight surely is not going to be shown upon the Constitution. Afraid of it fading out. Yeah. So, it's been photographed, it's been imaged. It's digitally preserved. But, you know, it's nice to have the original document intact. It is intact. And, it took us 150 years to figure out how to keep it intact of its 250-year existence. And amazing. So they packed a lot in a sentence, as I like to say. Every sentence is chock full of information. In the Constitution, they don't have an expression called, in other words, where they say it again, like, no, just read it again. You don't have to write it again. Yeah, they packed a lot in the sentence. If you read it, it's really quite astonishing. It's nice to be. It would be nice if each of us can learn more about more topics. I liked doing biochemistry and biology and chemistry and biology and physical chemistry, physics itself. when I was in ninth grade. Remember that? 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Do they still have such things? I think so. Not much. It's hard to say, other than the iPad, and the MacBook, and the MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, which is really MacBook Pro Air. It's a thin version of the MacBook Pro without a bunch of fans, without two fans that can keep the processors cool. All the different cores, this core, that core, Apple core. I would like to have been able to spend more time. It would have been nice to go, to law school and become a constitutional expert. In other words, be a lawyer with the specialty of analyzing and interpreting the United States Constitution as it relates to, federal judges and how they rule on things. And when it finally reaches the Supreme Court, how they interpret things. I know the one thing I didn't like is a few years ago when the liberal justices were saying that the Constitution is a living and breathing document. No, it isn't. There's nothing living and breathing about it. It's, Other than that, it's written on a parchment. It is pretty much, dead. There ain't no living about it. It is the opposite of living and breathing. It's written on paper so that you people that live and breathe can't change it based on what you think about it. They meant what they meant. So I'm a constitutionalist. But anyway, I did not take I don't think I took the LSAT test. LSAT. The law school admissions test. Yeah. I took the graduate record exam, and I took the MCAT. I took the medical college admission test, which I scored very well at, and I took the graduate record exam. That is the equivalent of the SAT. Right after you graduate, from college with what is known as an undergraduate degree, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science. You take the GRE, the Graduate Record Exam, where they essentially test your scholastic ability now that you're 4 or 5 years in college and you graduated. Can't take the GRE unless you graduated. Yeah. There's no PGRE like the PSAT. You get a chance to practice the SAT. No, there's no practice GRE. You take it. And you get a score, you know, like 1400 or whatever the heck it is. It's scored very similarly as far as the nomenclature is concerned. Yep. So anyway, I did well. I remember being told that I did well in the graduate record exam, and I did really good in the medical college admission test. Remember I told you when I took all the biochemistry, I learned how to pronounce all the words. Something my mother taught me. Can you believe it? I'm 103 years old, and I remember what my mother told me. Now, James. She was a smart one. Yeah. I was rather bored with the whole academic experience up until the second half of my freshman year in college. I was really quite bored, I must say. I think that's the best way of saying. Because, I wanted to do anything else because I didn't have ADD. I had a clear case of boring teacher. So, I used to teach high school math. And I taught, I guess, more students about digital photography and post-image processing. Post-image, everyone says, what the heck does that mean, post-image? No, it's not an image that you mail. It's an image that is created post-image. So, the image being the capture of the image, and the post-capture. You could use two different words. Yeah. Post-image processing. Okay. How to work with a digital image after you've already taken the picture. Post-image after you've taken the picture. That's what they mean by that. Principles of digital photography and post-image processing. So there's I don't know what kind of dog that is, but it looked like the face of our min pins. We had two min pins. We had a min pin and a maxi pin. Yeah, I think we got tricked. Our min pins were pretty big. They're supposed to be little tiny ones. No, they weren't little tiny. Well, I think we had maxi pins. Anyway, so there's a nice little face. So now we can hit the three little bars that's to the right of the circle with the eye in the middle. Now we have entered Apple's version of Photoshop Express. So on the right side, you can see the magic wand there, and if I press it, it'll apply some digital tools. I'm going to press it right now. 1, 2, 3, bingo. I'm going to press it again. It'll undo it. Yep. So you can see the brown areas underneath the eyes. Yep. They brighten up just a little bit. Now I can touch brilliance, and I can cycle that up and make it even more dramatic. Let's do that. And then I'm going to slide down here to the black point, And I'm going to pull that down, that lever down, to make the black coat, the black hairs of this beautiful animal looking at you. We can turn that into a black and white image. Look at that. Black and white. But let's gradually turn on the color. Look at that. We're gradually turning it. That is 0. That is no correction as to saturation. Now I'm going to go past 0. And then make the colors pop a little bit. See, now the coat looks as a little bluish cast. So we're going to go down here to warmth. That's even more blue. So we're going to make it warmer until that coat looks black, like right there. No more bluish cast to that coat. I like it. Done. Now the nice thing about Photoshop, this is not Photoshop, the nice thing about an image editor like this is that if you want to go back, I'm going to touch the 3 bars again. Now if you want to go back, see where it says revert? I can revert that right back to the original image. But we're not going to do that. We're going to leave it just as it is, because another thing we can do, oops, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Oops, touch screen, touching everything but the right one. There you go. I'm going to put a heart, I'm going to click the heart, because now it's, since I have an internal rule that says if I'm going to spend 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes on an image, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna make it a favorite image. How not? How can I spend 10 minutes on it? How can I not like it anymore? It looks pretty good. Now, if I touch this 3 bars again, I'm looking for, what does this do? Watch this. That shows you what the image, it gives you a couple second peek on what the image did look like, and now what it does look like. Formerly, and now. There we go. I thought there was such a thing. Now look at this guy. Now what I don't like about this picture is that we're lopsided. So we either had too much to drink. So the first thing we got to do is work our crop tool. You see over on the left side, we have adjust, we have filters, which they have pre-filters you can insert. I should practice with filters to get a better clue on how they work. But anyway, the first thing we got to do is clean up this crop business, because we have tables in the background. It looks like picnic tables that are, so we're gonna lose some of the, we gotta get those trees standing straight up. So you lose a little bit of, you lose the pause. So you can see, whoops, you can see the background now is straight up, and it's horizontal when it should be. So you can just see it in the very tippity top. We'll leave it that way. So excuse me. There we go. So now we've done that part. Now we're going to go to adjust. Illuminate auto. Go on the right side here. The magic wand is the first one. And that, see how that brightens up everything a little bit. The blue eyes on the dog. So if I change the black point, see, it darkens up the coat where you have black in the dog. Black coat. And then the saturation was cranked up a little bit by the when we did the auto results, when we hit the magic wand. So what if it was right about here at 15. Let's go to 30. Just brings out the browns a little bit more. And now I'm going to go to color temperature, warmth, and watch what I do. Wow. So if I go this way, everybody gets scared blue. No, we don't want blue. We're gonna, if anything, pull this down a little bit. Make sure that coat, we want to make sure that dog is white. You see here? We want to make sure the coat is white. We know where the white hair is. So let's make sure it's white. And I think it's right about there. So we warmed it up. Right there. I like it. What do you think? It's all very subjective. The tint is at 0. I think we're probably going to leave it at 0, but I'm going to go up and down. You see, if I move it up, look how the brown comes out in the dog's coat. But it also louses up the coat so that it's not white hair anymore. So I'm either going to pull it down a little bit, or if I go this way, everything is like a greenish cast. So that's 0. And maybe I will pull that down just a little bit. Alright, there we go. I generally don't go to tint. I let the auto sequence. So if I touch the picture, it goes back to the original, and then it shows you. It's almost like touching this. It gives you a couple second look at the way it was. Look how boring that picture was. And now it really jumps out at you. The difference between some lousy roll of film and Kodachrome. Remember Kodachrome? In the days of film 30 years ago? I was a film guy. Yep. I had a Nikon titanium film camera. How about that? It was considered one of the best action sports. So those film-based cameras were, they were very, they were manufactured to high standards to deal with that sprocket, the 35 millimeter sprocket strip of film. So the better cameras had, the machining and the gears were made of titanium instead of some cheap iron, so they wouldn't rust. You're out in the humidity, you get caught in a little drizzle rain while you're trying to take pictures, of a soccer game, a football game, whatever, you're outside. Oh boy. Yeah. All right. So we've dolled up 2 dog pictures. Look at that. That's a nice. He's turning around backwards looking at you. Jimmy taking a picture. Snap, snap. There you go. Look at that guy. Nice. Heavy coat. Mouth is... Remember, they adjust their body temperature by breathing more or less heavily through their mouth. As their saliva evaporates, it cools off, the whole inside of their mouth, and the blood circulates through the inside of the mouth and tends to cool off the whole body. That's the deal. Okay, breaking news. Yeah. We've had some the Gators rally late to reach the Final Four. It seems like everybody rallies. It's always the buzzer beaters and all that. So you got, the Florida Gators, and you got Duke. And I guess today, you get the other 2 of the Final Four. So by the end of today, March Madness enters the Final Four. And there was a time where Florida Atlantic University was in the Final Four. It was, it came up the brackets, so to speak. It moved up like 4 or 5 brackets, and it was handicapped to lose in every single game that it played. Yeah. So that was a few years ago when we got in the Final Four. Oh my God. Florida Atlantic was, the campus was like beside itself. They had Final Four. You could buy Final Four ornament pants. Look at that dog. That turned out pretty good. And remember, it was all cockamamie with regard to, the whole camera was at a stupid angle. Yeah. If you got the horizon in the picture, it's got to be straight across. It just has to be. Now look at this guy. Yeah, ooh. How come we didn't work on him? I'm going to work on him, so I'm going to put a heart on it. See right there at the bottom? On, off, on, off. On. Then I'm going to hit the 3 bars, left of the eye. We'll have to touch that circle with the eye and see what that does. So now I'm going to hit auto over here on the right side, the magic wand. I always hit auto first. Yeah, this is artificial intelligence. It's been around a long time, folks. Yeah. It's just the media didn't know what to call it. We called it programming, coding. It is. It's coding. Of course, it's coding. I was a coder. Yeah, that's what you learn how to do. Let me turn this up a little bit. There we go. This heel air transformer here, heel, H-E-I-L. There was a fellow by the name of Robert Heel. He recently passed away, but he made some great speakers. I owned 2 massive speakers that weigh like 150 pounds apiece on each side, of a big screen TV. And they had the heel air transformer, which used to reproduce all the sounds 1,000 cycles a second up to 25,000 cycles a second. In other words, super high frequency. And it was a very unique design for that. They called it the heel air transformer. Yes, it was. And it had two big 10 or 12 inch, I'm going to say 12 inch whoopers, two of them. Yeah. One mounted right above and above another. And then the air transformer was up on the top. And the two 12 inch whoopers with 26-pound magnets. Can you imagine the 26-pound, a barbell plate, a 20-pound barbell plate weighs? That was the magnet on the back end of the speakers. 26 pound each. So each speaker weighed like 30 pounds. You had two of those. So you can see how it adds up real quick as far as weight. Anyway, let's hit auto here, see what happens. 1, 2, 3, bingo! Ooh, look how that brightens that picture up a little bit. We can come down here where highlights. We're going to turn down the highlights a little bit because we don't want it burnt out like that. Because when we brighten it up, we don't want to brighten up the highlights. They're already high enough. So we're gonna bring that down a little bit so that the coat looks. Now it's too much, and that's too much the other way. Nice thing about these little sliders, you can go up and down and get it just. I like that. I like the way that looks. So we went minus 80 on the highlights. That's interesting. Here's shadow. Now that's up at 20. So we're going to go up and down there. Oh, look what it does to the background. Yeah. So we're going to go up a little bit more and deepen that background to make the dog stand out. See, we don't want that. That's where it was. We're going to go negative on the shadow a little bit more to make the dog stand out from the background. There we go. I like it. Contrast. All right. Contrast has the habit of changing the color a little bit, so we're going to watch the dog's coat real carefully on this contrast business. That's no good, right? See how it lost up the color? If we went totally negative on contrast, and if we go too much the other way, it looks like a very old dog. Yeah. So we're gonna leave that pretty much where it was. And we're doing that by looking at the background. Yeah, we're gonna leave it right about there. Yeah. Black point. See, now we can turn this up, and then the background we can eliminate the background. See, so all these have an effect on that background. So I like where we have the background, so we'll leave it right there. I don't think we need to deal with the saturation. See, there's black and white dog. There's oversaturated dog, and there's. We're not going to do much with the saturation. Vibrance is like a fine-tuning of the saturation. Warmth, let's just dial that up and down and see. You see, if we get too warm, the color goes dipstick. If we go to this way, it looks like a very old dog. We don't want an old dog, we want a pretty dog. So we'll make it a little bit warmer. I'm going to deal with the tint. Just, that's up, that's negative, that's up. We're going to leave tint alone. We're going to leave that right at 0. Now here's something else. Vignette. Now this will tend to drop off the background on the edges. You see how it darkens the edges? So the corner of that picture, you don't see the corner. So we're going to go, because we don't want to see anything about the corner. All right. I think we're done with this rascal. So now I'm going to press this button over here on the top next to cancel. We don't want to cancel. No. We're going to touch this thing right next to it, which shows you the way it was, the way it is. Was, is. Was, is. Let's go to saturation here. And let's turn that color down a little bit. We don't want to go lipstick on the color. That's too much. That's too little. No, that's the vibrance. The saturation. Too much. Ooh. And there is black and white picture. I think we're going to leave the saturation, leave both those color controls on 0. Black point. I'm going to turn that up a little bit to get darken up the background a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to hit done. We're done. All right, so you see this eye in the middle? And it's cycling by image information. Now it had like a little picture of a dog in the middle. Like a, let's see what's going on here. You see the little picture over there? All right, we dealt with the image today at 2:04 a.m. We actually grabbed that image from Flipboard, the source, saved from Flipboard. Yeah. All right, we're done. So we got all the doggy pictures. So look at this. This is a little surprise fireworks display. Let's first thing we need to do is we need to get this straight up and down. There we go. We're a little tilt, a little bit of tilt, 2-degree tilt there. And ouch. Let's see, we're going to adjust. So I'm going to hit the auto. I'm going to hit black point to darken up the clouds, or not the clouds, the dark sky, because this is like whatever time of day it was. Let's hit done. And I'm just going to pull up on the image. This is at 8:46 p.m. last night. We're watching something on the television, and all of a sudden, this fireworks display commenced. There we go. You can see it going up. We can't hear it. And then it's going to go bonkers here. This is like the grand finale. This fireworks display only lasted about 5 minutes. And then bingo was done. It was like a birthday or a wedding or something held at the Boca Hotel, and they gave them a fireworks display. Here's an earlier part of that. And the way this is you can see up in the top it says 8:45, and if I go to the next one, see it says 8:46. Is there another one? Yep. I'm going to do the same thing here. Go to adjustments, hit the auto, and then turn the black point blacker to kill the background. That's a 20-second clip. So I hit that arrow right there. There we go. Starts it. You know who invented the fireworks? The Chinese, of course. 1,000 years ago, they came up with the whole idea of fireworks.
It's 11 o'clock.
It's 11 o'clock, my computer says. So I got 3 video clips. These are injunctions that were issued by federal district courts. Look at that. In the Bush years, for all 8 years, he only had 6. Obama, all 8 years, he had 12. Trump? He had 64 in 4 years. Imagine. And then in the first 2 months, he's already had 15, which is more than anybody else. In 9 weeks of being a president. That's why the Supreme Court's you can't have Democratic leaning judges. I don't care how they lean. You can't have them interfering with international affairs. You know, we're trying to remove people that jumped our borders. They don't have rights. They're not citizens. They don't enjoy the benefits of the Bill of Rights, or shouldn't. Yeah. So that's why that graphic. That was on the TV. I took a picture of what was on the TV. There it is. I don't know why I have retained. What's inside? This is natural melatonin. This is a tea bag that I got from Isogenics because I didn't know what the hell else to get. So they gave you 30 tea bags, I think. Yeah. So I'm gonna mix this with some regular tea and make a couple liters of this for Maryland to taste. I don't know if it has any, if it does anything to your insides. Does it make you go to the bathroom? Or, I think it's I don't think it's like a cleanse. I think it's a natural source of melatonin. It's something where if you want to have a sip of tea in the evening, because, melatonin, some people take this by the pill, It's the body's natural sleep hormone and a fast-acting, easy-to-use sleep support supplement. How about that with the S words? The sleep support supplement. Okay. Let's highlight that. Can I do anything with that? Share, select, copy it. Okay. doesn't look like I can do much to it. I was going to like bold it or something because it sounded like. Let's see what happens if I search the web. Well, let's see if I look it up. See where it goes. Sleep support supplement. Yeah, that seems to be a popular 3-word alliteration. I think they call that an alliteration. This is probably for melatonin. Walgreens. Yeah, just buy that right in Walgreens. Just buy a goddamn bottle of it. They got this tea stuff. No, I don't think so. Where'd it go? It should be right here. Yeah, fast acting. There we go. No, this is an image. I did a print screen of this from something. Whoa! So here's a case where you're not going to use the auto because it totally louses it up. So I'm just going to go over here and hit the black point, which will tend to bring out the type. And darkening up the wood on the cutting board, that's okay. I don't mind that. I don't think you can really deal with contrast. Now that'll bring out the text, but it'll louse up the pictures. It takes it desaturates the. We'll just leave that alone. So I actually went negative on the contrast. And let's come up here and see what happens if we fine tune the vibrance to make the cherries a little more cherry red. All right. See, I go all the way up, and the picture looks like that. Go all the way down, looks like that. And I come back to 0. Should I have any effect? Yeah, give it a little tiny effect. Bingo, I'm done. Now, I'm going to press that, and then I'm going to hit this was is. Will that work? Yeah, okay. Cancel. That looks pretty good. I like it. Here's what I talked about yesterday. Of the 340 million, this is the estimated population. Estimate of the total resident population, age 18 years or older. Now this is total resident population for the United States, 340 million. And the number of the portion of that 340 that's over 18 is 266 million, 267. So 78% of the population is over 18. 22% of the population is under 18. Yeah. So then you have it broken down by Northeast, Midwest. You can see that. So the South. Yeah. We talked about that yesterday. That's the only image we have. And this. And this. And last night, the fireworks. I got 3 fireworks pieces, about 20 or 30 seconds of it. Yeah, just so you see it. The booms. You can see right there where it really starts to light up. You get all this boom, 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 boom. You can't. It's right now silent movies, but it was dramatic booms. There's the doggy. There's another doggy. And there's the third doggy. And they got their final ready for more. And you see the 4 in their shirts. Final 4. And they show the Gators are in the Final 4. They haven't been there since 2014. It was very exciting when FAU got in the Final 4, and they got buzzer beat. Can you believe it? With 1/3 of a second left, a ball was in the air and went right in the basket. They were actually ahead, and then they got buzzer beaten. So instead of winning by 1, they lost by 1. God. Oh God. Or else they would have been in the final 2. You know what that is? That's the championship game. Woo! That would have really been spectacular. But they got in the final 4. That was pretty good against all odds. I mean, everybody said there's no way. Well, everybody was wrong. March 30. Here we are. So this, apparently, there's going to be a huge 36 trillion Fed repricing of all our securities. And it's going to make Bitcoin and the cyber security business is going to go completely bonkers. It's come down a bit just in bracing for this. I had some Bitcoin. I sold it all. Yep, where's coin? Yeah. See? So if you want to trade in Bitcoin, which here's the app. I have an account, and I have apparently 6 cents. I got 6 cents. I sold it all out a couple weeks ago. Made a profit. Yeah. So I have 6 cents worth of Dodge coin. Yeah. I have 0.38 of 1 Dodge coin. How silly is that, huh? So we can go, let's see. I can touch on this. Dogecoin, let's just look at that. And let's look at the last month. Yeah. Let's look at this is the last year. That's it. So I've got 6 cents. Apparently there was a rounding error. So I have 0. I mean, I meant to sell everything. I sold everything but 6 cents worth. There we go. So, stick with it. See, Bitcoin is down to 82,000 a coin. I'm a terrible predictor of this stuff. I remember when Bitcoin was $200 a coin. I said, boy, this is a terrible idea. And it went down to 1,000. Yes, sir. Whatever I say, do the opposite. That's my recommendation. Yeah. Just here's Dogecoin, power, type of that. There's Ethereum. That's what I call a poor man's Bitcoin. So for $1,800, you can buy 1 Ethereum Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a coin in itself, and since it was one of the first, we call the whole industry Bitcoin. It's kind of like Xerox when you talk about copy machines, regardless of who makes it. Sweetie, why don't Xerox this a few times? Regardless of what actual kind of machine you have. I have a Brother machine, and it makes beautiful Xerox copies. Well, that's what Bitcoin, that's the point on words here. That's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a coin,
It's 11:15.
but it also is like the name of the whole industry. Yeah. What's going on here? I have a coffee machine that's acting up, so I have one of these on injured reserve. Order details. Oh, that track package. It's nowhere. Look at that. If I press see all updates, it says it left the shipper's facility. It's like in New Jersey. But if I do a apparently it's UPS, because this is a UPS number. Let's I guess let's look it up. Search the web. I'm not a robot. Track it with UPS. There we go. What's going to happen? Oh yeah, label created. You see, as far as UPS is concerned, we don't have the package yet. UPS does not have possession of the package. Therefore, we can't tell you if or when it's going to be delivered. It's a 10-pound box. They made the label. UPS ground of some sort. Cuisinart K-Cup coffee maker. So with that. So sometime this week, we'll be able to it's 3 years. The one we have is 3 years old. It's time for him to go into K-Cup. K-Cup heaven. All right. Where's the car? It's parked. 93-degree interior temperature. The overheat protection is active. Let's look at it on the map. Ooh. It is stationary. She's either waiting for a red light. She could be in the car. She's 18 miles away. She has not hit the... Oh, wait a minute. What it's parked. So she's parked on a side street. Oh, I thought she was like in a parking area. I don't know why I got... yeah, she's right down there near the... This building is, I think, she's in this building somewhere. Let's find out. We have all these search tools. So we're gonna find my, see this, right up there, just down one and to the right of Elon Musk's face. There we go, right there. Press the button. And so now we're going to find Marilyn because we want to go to people instead of things. So we can find devices. I can find my keys. I can find my computer. And we're going to hit people. Down here in the bottom left corner, there's different selections. And we're going to select Maryland, who's in Lake Worth somewhere. Inside that big... Oh, I guess I never... Whoops. There we go. So she's in... Can we do... yeah, there we go. Look at that. Whoa. Whoa. Excuse me. Let's try that again. So we can zoom in a little bit. She's moving around. Look at this. She's... now I can... yeah. Whoop. She's walking. You see how that pulses? So she's walking around outside, apparently, in this bizarre there's a parade. I don't know what the weather's like. We can find out what the weather's like. We can collapse that and go to My Radar Pro right here. Are we seeing that? Are we tracking that? Here it is. Let's add this to the mix. Now we got two iPads and Jimmy. I'm in the middle. So let's check the weather. See how I'm expanding. Ooh. We want to find out what's going on at Lake Worth. Right here. Every once in a while you can see some clouds zooming by. So, no rain. So Maryland is, you can see the pulsating Maryland there in the middle. Can we see it? Yeah, you can see it over on the left side. So we're going to get out of there. Yeah, so we see Maryland over here. We'll go to this dual display. Shows, you can't actually see it, but you can see it over here. You see, that's 1 hour and 4 minutes. I've been yakking about, remember we did some image editing on the dogs? Now we're using Find Friends, and we can see Marilyn walking around. There's a parade going on outside. And you can see how you can look right down the street. Now remember, this is the magic of like Google Maps, maybe. I can't see the mapping company. It's probably Apple has a licensing agreement with somebody to produce the mapping. And then that is actually Marilyn's iPhone that's moving around. We have Marilyn's face on there because the presumption in the phone is either in her hand or in her pocket or in her purse on her arm. She's probably using the phone to take pictures, which will get us to see this, some kind of a, it's a parade thing. I don't know what it is. Whoops. She just It's jumping around a little bit because of the buildings. She's either in a building and it's interfering with the software to track her actual position. Yep. So we can just next out of that. Daniel is at JM Lexus. He looks like he's outside. And so, so this is a whole sales center. I don't know what's this is probably the service thing behind here, where all the service stalls. It's a mezzanine building. He's actually, he's been selling for. He's a sales manager. So he's doing good. He's in the, out of 40 people, he's like in the top 4 out of 40. So he's in the top 10% of everybody that's selling stuff at JM Lexus, which is the largest. I think it's the largest dealer, period. Look at all the cars in the background there. So we can twist this around. And these are all cars that are in inventory right now. Those are not employees. That's the JM Lexus parking lot for the nation's largest dealership. And it was, I don't know if it still is. So he's out over here. Took a customer out for a drive, or I don't know. Bob Beatty is home. His brother-in-law. Let's see who else we got. Sun Lee is right there. And where is Robin? She is at her house. It was nice. We visited her house a couple of weeks ago. Very nice. Very nice indeed. She has a boat winterized up, hoisted out of the water. Use it during the summer. In the winter, just you winterize it. That's it. So the long, skinny lots. It goes all the way up here. This is actually one of their garages. It's like a 3-car garage. She's walking. You can see her walking around the house. 11:27. Yeah, that was nice. Very nice. She took us up there to celebrate my birthday. And what are you gonna do? Yeah, birthdays. Anyway, so I was gonna look at where I am. See, there's I am. That blue dot right there. It's like a Kmart special now. So I can go 3D on this, and you can see I'm right in that building, right here, on the 8th floor. I went to Big Circle, and my phone is right here. So it's zeroing in on this phone. Help if I turned it on. It maybe would it be zeroing in on an iPad? We can zero in on devices too. You can have, see lower left. You got people, devices, items. And where am I? I'm going to share my location. Yep. So I've got all my family members have agreed to allow me to see where they are. And it's Judy Dordell. That's Marilyn's sister. She's at the United Methodist Church Sunday morning. That makes sense, right? Brennan is at the yacht club making food.
It's 11:30.
And I'm the Blue Dot Special right here. Yep, right there. My phone is on. So now it can really zero in on me. And I can go like that. And if I turn it this way, then you can see what I see out of my balcony. Yep. You can see a partial golf course there, and I can see also, see in the background there, the Boca Hotel. I see the whole hotel. Yep. That's what I see from my balcony. Where's the blue? There it is right there. I'm in that blue circle. And that's what I see. Rotating around. From my balcony I get a exquisite look down that road right there, which is Plaza Real South. And there's Royal Palm. Yeah, Royal Palm. That would be Palmetto Place. This condo project right here. When this photograph was taken, the pool was empty. Apparently they were doing some incredible cleaning, because there's no blue water on that one. Come over to this. Can we see water in our pool? There's our pool. I guess the blue water isn't showing up that well. See, I guess you can kind of see blue water in this pool. Yeah. This is part of the hotel. Okay. So you need to go. I encourage everyone to go back to the 6 o'clock news on Thursday and Friday night, where Brett Baer in his new show, the 6 o'clock evening news on the Fox cable news channel, 428 if you're a Verizon, if you're an Xfinity client, Comcast Xfinity, which we are. He actually, Elon Musk, the pictured person right there at the very top of your screen, he's sitting there with, I'm going to say, 7 of his cohorts that are doing the Doge examination of things, doing kind of like an audit. And the whole, the problem with our society is, look, just, how about that? This is a professorial remark from Professor Jim, Professor of Digital Photography. The way I see it is that we have a low information society. People don't pay attention. They're not reading the news. They're not listening to the news. They're listening to unreliable sources of news. Doge is just you might as well just call it the executive offices of the president. Okay? Next to the White House, to the right side of the White House, is the executive office building. It holds hundreds and hundreds of people that work for the White House, okay? That's the executive office of the United States of America. The President of the United States of America has executive offices. Just like the Congress, they have congressional offices. They have senatorial offices, including senators, right? You've got the Supreme Court, and you've got the offices of the Supreme Court, Well, the president has offices also. And he has people like the Doge people. And Elon Musk is giving up his time. He's not being paid. He is basically like, a leave of absence from his businesses so that he can spearhead these other 8, people, very successful people that have basically put their businesses on hold. They've taken a leave of absence, and they're helping Trump figure out what the hell is going on with, so they have found, with the, these aren't a bunch of CPAs, these are a bunch of CEOs. They're just using their common sense. Why are we spending $55 million to teach the Houthis birth control? Really? I mean, is that the best way to spend $55 million? We have some of our, people that have retired out of the military, and they're homeless, sleeping on the streets of some of our major cities. We could spend that $55 million on some of them. How about, $55 million? I mean, you could build $55 million houses, or you could build, 400 residential homes worth $300,000 apiece, right? And just give them to the homeless veterans that we have. That would take 400, 500 veterans off the streets of the cities, our major cities. I'm just, But we're wasting billions of dollars. We're spending billions. Listen to this. This is the number. Now, why the left? Why the left-leaning political souls in our country are jumping up and down, waving signs about how evil Musk is? He's just providing. Yeah, you don't like the news? Turn it off. But don't firebomb my car, for God's sakes. What the hell's the matter with you? You do that, you're going to jail. That's basically what the Attorney General says. We're watching you. And we're particularly watching Tesla dealerships and Tesla cars. And if any of you disturb Tesla cars, we're coming after you. And when the federal government comes after you, that's not a good thing. Because if they don't incarcerate you, they'll wear you out. They will break you financially, because you'll have to spend so much money defending yourself that you won't have a drop of money left in your pocket. They'll end up taking your house. They'll end up taking your car. You'll be totally bankrupt when we get done with you. Not we, when the government gets done with you. So you don't want the government chasing you, because unless you have a lot of money, he goes at $1,200 an hour, which is what a good Washington attorney would charge someone who needs to defend themselves against some lawsuit filed by the United States of America against you because you threw a Molotov cocktail inside a Tesla building. You're going to jail for a long time. I mean, because that's a felony. But if you just key a car and they catch you, they'll ruin you. They did it in Trump's first term. They basically financially ruined 20 or 30 of Trump's best friends. Just because he was friendly with Trump. The Democrats went after them and basically bankrupted them. Yeah. So they don't incarcerate you. There won't be much left of you. And in the 8 years that they're chasing you, you'll put on 20 years in age if you survive it. Anyway, so listen to this. So you got Elon Musk and 7 of his cohorts that are giving their time. In other words, they're not being paid. It's not like they're being paid $200,000 a year like a lot of these people in the Department of Education. They have discovered, looking at just summary printouts from the Social Security Administration, they're not talking about cutting benefits. They're talking about cutting this. Listen to me. They have found 15 million people, 15 million, that are over the age of 120 receiving Social Security checks. 15 million. There aren't 15 million people over the age of 120. There may be 2. There may be 0. There sure as hell aren't 100. There sure as hell aren't 15 million. How could that possibly happen? Well, I can tell you how it can possibly happen. It's fraud. But, the little old lady didn't realize it was fraud. I'm 87 years old, and Poppy, my husband died, 15 years ago. And I guess I forgot to turn off his Social Security check. Because I'm getting mine and I'm getting his. We get them both together. It goes into our account. It's always been going to account. Oh, was I supposed to tell someone I thought I keep getting his benefits even if he's done. Come up with stories. What are you going to do? You're going to put a 93-year-old woman in jail because she's been collecting her husband's Social Security check for the last 15 years? And he's, if he was alive, he'd be 137 years old. So that's how this happens. The surviving spouse either intentionally or forgot or didn't know any better, forgot to turn off the deceased spouse of a family unit. So the widow or the widower is getting 2 Social Security checks. The one of the dead husband or the dead wife and the person's own Social Security check who's still alive. But within 30 days you're supposed to notify the Social Security Administration as soon as your spouse passes away and you're to instruct the Social Security Administration to stop sending my husband's check because he's not with us any longer, and I'll send you a copy of the death certificate as soon as I receive it from the state of confusion. But that's how we have 150. That's how we have 15 million people over the age of 120 receiving Social Security benefits. I mean, it could very well be that the husband and wife both passed away, and the surviving daughter, the checks are still going in to the checkbook of her parents who died, 10 years ago, and she's still getting, that checkbook keeps filling up with Social Security money, and the surviving children are receiving those benefits. They just didn't turn it off. Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know where the money. I thought it was part of the annuity stuff, But that's what happens with this direct deposit stuff. It just never gets turned off. Apparently, and we've got 15 million people over the age of 120 receiving Social Security. But that's how it happens. And some of it is innocent fraud, and some of it is just flagrant fraud. Fraud's fraud. It's felonious. Okay, balonious, felonious. If you read the rules, the laws, you as a surviving spouse, or if both your parents, went down in an airplane and deceased, when you get over your grief, you got to get a hold of the Social Security Administration, turn off the benefits, because it doesn't pass down the family tree. As soon as when your parents, if they're receiving Social Security benefits, like money, and they pass away, let's say together, they get in a car accident, they're in an unfortunate airline crash, you've got to turn off the Social Security benefit checks. If you don't, you can be in serious trouble. And they'll come after you, and they'll make you return all the money. So if you've been taking their benefits for the last 5 years, they can make monthly. So you're getting a $2,000 check every month for Grandpa. I'm making this up, and he passed away 8 years ago. 8 times 12 is 96. And multiply 96 by 2,000. That's 100. That's over $100,000 you have to pay back. Most people that are keeping those Social Security deposits, don't have an extra $100,000 laying around. So then the United States government comes after you for $100,000 worth of actual damages. The $100,000 they paid Uncle Louie and Aunt Louie. Yeah. So, you think fraud, you're thinking of some big machinery, No, it's just they forgot to turn off Uncle Louie's check. And you've been collecting it for the last 7 or 8 years. Guess what? U.S. government come back and, they can take your house and then sell your house, keep the $100,000 of money that you shouldn't have had, and then they'll let you have the change after legal fees. So if there's any money left over, they'll give it to you. But your house, it seize your cars, seize your house, seize any assets you got to pay that $100 back. I guarantee it. They're not going to let $100,000 go on. So the Department of Justice will be very busy filing lawsuits against every one of those 15 million people feloniously receiving Social Security checks because your surviving heirs are not 100 years old, 120 years old, excuse me. I think we have, one or two people that are like 106. But I don't think there's a single Social Security benefactor that's 120 years old. Well, the Social Security Administration is sending out benefits to 15 million people over the age of 120. And I'm just telling you how that happens. And since every one of the systems in the U.S. government are separate systems, the systems don't talk to each other. In other words, so the Florida system that keeps track of everybody that dies in the state of Florida, you get a death certificate, right? Well, they're not talking to the Social Security Administration. The state governments are not talking to the national governments. So the laws are written, it's your responsibility. And if you're dead, it's your spouse's responsibility. If you're both dead, the executive of your estate is required to stop those benefit checks. Robin's mother just passed away. I'm going to make sure she's not receiving any Social Security income from her mother. No. You have to take an action. You have to do something. There's nothing automatic about turning on or off those benefits. You got to ask for the benefit to be paid. You might have done it a while ago, when you turn 65 or whatever. But they're not turning off the benefit checks when they die. It could be very innocently stupid. But unfortunately, it's felonious. And Pam Bondi is going to come after you. So watch your mail. There are going to be some FedEx packages coming in, not FedEx. There's going to be some hand deliver. There's going to be agents hired, and they're going to be scouring all over the world, the United States particularly, because they'll get the bank records on where those monies are being deposited. They'll find out who the signers are of those accounts, and they're coming after you. Because the Department of Justice, they can subpoena all that information. This is what Doge is coming up with. So you can imagine. Just think about it. Let's clear this. 15 million. We'll put in 15 million. There's another zero. And we'll multiply that times, let's just say $2,250 a month. That's a month, okay? And then we're going to multiply that times 12 equals, oh God, that's thousands, 100,000, millions. That's 405 billion. So in 2 years, it's $1 trillion. Okay? Let's do it again. Make sure I didn't screw this up. 15 million people are receiving Social Security checks. That shouldn't be, because they're not 120 years old. 15 million. All right. They're getting, let's just round it down, $2,000, whoops, times $2,000. Keep it simple, stupid. Now that's a month, right? So this is monthly. Hundred thousands. Yeah, that's 30 billion a month. 30 billion a month times 12 months. 360. That's thousands, millions. $360 billion a year in Social Security benefits. That's per year. Remember, some of these people are 120. So that, maybe they died when they were 90. Okay? You go back a few years, 90 was a pretty old person. You're hearing about people dying all the time. They're 87, 89, 99. How many people you hear died at 103? There's only 7 of them. Not 15 million of them. Okay, so this number is 360 billion a year. Okay? And people only living, let's say they live till 90, live to 120. That's 30 years. If I multiply that by 30, it's trillions of dollars. Let's just multiply this by 120, right? If I multiply this by 10, that'd be 10 years worth. Right? So we make it from 120 to 110 to 100, so if it's 20 years, oh God. This number right here. I'm going to copy that and then paste. Anyway, you get the idea. If it's 360 billion a year, and we've got 20 years worth of that, that's 4.3 trillion. We've overpaid $4.3 trillion worth of Social Security benefits to people that are 120 years old or older. Remember, there are 15 million of them. And it's likely at least 20 years worth of that, right? That'd bring the age to 100. So everyone over 100. How many people you got over 100? Geez. God almighty. That's what Dosh is working on. And now everyone in that 15 million group, there are going to be 15 million lawsuits filed just for Social Security fraud, which amounts to 360 billion a year in overpayments to people that have deceased, and the surviving spouse or the surviving son or daughter or surviving granddaughter, grandson, getting benefits from grandpa that who died 25 years ago. Well, if you add that up for a family unit, it could be $120,000 worth of overpayment. They're going to come after your cars and your houses and your boats. So if you own a house, they'll shut down your checkbooks. The government will get the money. They will, they'll just seize it. That's what they do. The IRS, they just seize it. Boom, it's gone. All of a sudden, the federal agent comes up and says, this is ours. Here's a warrant. And this is now our property. And we're going to sell it. So get out. Today. Where am I going to put my... I don't care. You can put it out in the street, as far as we're concerned. If you don't get it out, we're coming with a garbage truck. And we'll have armed guards protecting our property because we're going to sell it. We've taken title. Title has been filed in Palm Beach County. This house is now ours. They seize it. That's what, And these people don't have any money to defend this kind of litigation. They just say, well, I didn't know any better. Yeah. You didn't know any better for 25 years? You've been collecting Grandpa's Social Security check? You didn't think there's anything wrong with that? Well, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of things wrong with that. So we're taking everything we can get our hands on that has your name on it. You will be ruined when we're done with you because you took Grandpa's checks for the last 25 years and put it in your pocket. That's our taxpayers' money. You're supposed to be paying benefits to people that deserve it. Well, when they die, you don't get the benefit any longer. That's not rocket science, It's going to be a big mess. And a lot of these surviving heirs, you got some grandma that's 92 years old and her husband died 10 years ago and she's still taking his Social Security checks because now he'd be 120 years old. He died 10 years ago. All that money, Grandma's been just buying groceries with it, just trying to survive. And she now becomes homeless. Because if she's living in a property she owns, she's going to be thrown out of a property that the U.S. government is going to seize. And that's all the stuff I'm talking about. In about 4 or 5 months, it's going to hit. It's going to hit like a hurricane because Pam Bondi is going to be hiring tens of thousands of federal attorneys to prosecute the 15 million people that are illegally receiving Social Security benefits. Remember, there are 15 million people that are over the age of 120 receiving Social Security benefits. I just told you how that happens. Grandma forgot to turn off Grandpa's Social Security check. Just didn't know any better. Or did know any better. And figured no one would find out. Well, that's what's going on. That's just what Doge has just found out with that. Justifies their entire existence. And this is just executive offices of the President of the United States doing a very simple audit function. Why the hell didn't the Social Security Administration do this themselves? That's the question. I'd shut that down. The IRS is a joke. How could they allow this to happen? I'd fire. You go down about three levels of management. Get rid of them. They're incompetent. Got all these fancy guys in the gray suits. That's terrible. And the morons that are walking around with signs calling Elon Musk a Nazi. Why? Because he just found out that the U.S. government is sending out Social Security checks to dead people. Why didn't the Social Security Administration stop it? right? I mean, they're the ones sending out the money. It's not a complicated record search to go compare death certificates filed all over the United States against Social Security beneficiaries and see the 15 million people that we're talking about. They know they can get name and address every damn one of them. Yep. So the Social Security Administration is not being run properly. All right, well, I've been hacking away here for an hour and 50 minutes, and I wore myself out just thinking about this Social Security thing. I mean, it's just one thing. I mean, they haven't even gotten into the Defense Department to see, what kind of shenanigans are going. It's one of the biggest payrolls, all the people that are in the Defense Department. And all the people that are managing the people that are managing the people and all the levels of management. All this coming up through this pyramid that Pete Hegseth is sitting on the top of. Now, he's no dummy, okay? And he's no alcoholic either. Was he drinking when he was, come on. These politicians are disgusting slime. And the problem is that we have a low information society. I don't know who said this. I didn't create this terminology I'm about to give you, but one of the most dangerous things in the world, in our society, in our American society, is a low information electorate. We're not me, but there are, of the how many, I can tell you how many. I hate it when I kind of know what I'm talking about. There's it right here. There are 266 million people that are alive that are 18 years or older. There are 267 million of them. Now, a whole bunch of them, over 100 million of them, didn't even vote. How disgusting is that? Because Trump got, 77 million votes? And Kamala got 73 million votes. So that's 160 million. Let's round up. 166 million votes cast in this last election in November. That means, you can do the math. It's 100 million people didn't vote. 100 million. It's unimaginable that you just wouldn't vote. I don't know. Yeah, goddamn. When Trump said he's not going to tax Social Security benefits, there's 65 million Social Security. Come on, it's 12:08. You should be able to talk now. I read somewhere, I assume it's relatively, I like to round down with these numbers just for safety's sake. There's 65 million people receiving Social Security benefits. Now, we already know that 15 million of that 65 million are receiving checks surreptitiously. They're either stupid or they're felonious in either event, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. You still get prosecuted by the U.S. government if you receive one Social Security check, that you didn't deserve. Yeah, I mean, goddamn. I get a $3,000. I get $3,000 a month Social Security benefit. $3,000. Okay. It's almost to the dollar. 3,000. 12 months of those, 36,000. So if I drop dead and Marilyn forgets to turn off my check, Meta Cruz, she'd be getting $36,000 a year in benefits she's not entitled to. 3 years of that's $100K. Not many regular people that just have an extra couple of $100,000 laying around in cash. It's tied up in houses and cars and boats and jewelry. Well, the U.S. government just comes in and seizes it. Yeah, they just say, nope, sorry, Marilyn, this condo is now ours. We're going to sell it, and can you write us a check for $100,000? Because you received $100,000 worth of benefits illegally. You use all these big words. That is felonious, and you need to write us a check like tomorrow. Cashier's check would be fine. And then we'll make recommendation that we drop the litigation. And we won't seize any more assets, or we won't seize any assets. But we need to check, before 5 p.m. tomorrow. Okay? I don't know how many people have a couple $100,000 laying around. So if you forget to turn off those checks for a couple of years, it's accruing at like $30,000 a year per person times 15 million. We can do that math again. Let's do that math again. It's important. This is like what Doge is all about, and everyone's all, oh my God, how can they? He's Hitler. He's not Hitler. He's telling you, do you really want these people to have this money? That's, we want to make sure that appropriate Social Security beneficiaries get paid. And so $30,000 a year times 15 million people are over the age of 120. 15 million times 30,000 a year, right? 30,000 a year times 15 million, 1 year's worth of that equals thousands, millions. That's 450 billion a year. Okay, 450 billion a year. And we have people that are supposedly 120. So that means it's like, that some people have been getting these benefits for 10 years. Well, it's 450 billion a year. If you multiply that by 10, let's just say 10 years worth, times, where's the X? Times 10. Oh, I know what the answer is. 4 trillion. Just imagine, instead of being, we have a $36 trillion deficit. Well, $4.5 trillion can come off just by hiring an army of, and I'm just taking the 10 years worth. There's 20 years worth, right? Because they say they're 120. There's no one 120. There's no one 110. If there are, there's 3 of them. You know? Our World War II vets, what are there, like 800 of them that are left that are 100 years old? 800. Not 8 million, not 8,000. 5, 6, 7, 800. They're like dying at the rate of, oh God, I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, so you double that number because it's 120, right? So let's just get it to 100 years old. Times 10.
It's 12:15.
That's 10 years worth. Yeah, no, not times 10. Times 2. That's 9 trillion. Yeah. So now we brought the 120 package down to 100-year-old package. And you know damn well there aren't 15 million people living to 100 either. So that's 9 trillion in benefits that we're overpaid. I'm plucking these numbers right out of my fanny. But I'm really being very generous. So now we're saying all 15 million of these people are age 100. Well, that can't be the case either. So let's take them to 95. Jesus. So we got 20 years worth right here. 20 years worth of overpayments is $9 trillion. Now you still have 15 million people that are aged 100. Really? Do you think there are 15 million people that are 100 years old? I don't think so. The average age right now, according to the Social Security Administration, which I think you can probably wipe your butt with those numbers, is like 78. Not 120, 78. So round up to 80. 80 from 120 is 40. There's 40 years worth of overpayments. Well, 9 trillion is 20 years worth. 4 years worth, you double that, it'd be 18 trillion. What's our national debt? 36 trillion? We cut our national debt in half just by collecting from all these people that shouldn't have been receiving. You can't call them assholes and scumbags, and you can't use all these names because, some little old lady she got to turn off her husband's check. What the hell does she know? I have a hard life. You owe it to me. That's the. Are you really going to handcuff these little old ladies? Knowing that the men die younger or faster than the women. Anyway, so remember this, $9 trillion just brings the population of overpayments down to 100 years old from 120. So you've sent out lawyers all over the United States, all over the world, because God knows where they retired, right? You have to go find them. Well, you know how you find them? Where are they sending the checks? Most of the money is direct deposit. So you go right to the bank records. You hire all these lawyers. You file legal action against Mrs. Jones living in, Baltimore or whatever. And you file an action against Mrs. Jones. You immediately subpoena the bank records where all those checks have been going in for the last 20 freaking years. Remember, there are 15 million people that are 120 years old. That means they've been collecting these benefits for 20 years. That brings them down to 100 years old. $9 trillion. Brings the average age of all those people down to 100. Now, how many people do you think in the United States are 100 or over? Maybe 1,000? Not 15 million, right? 15 million people are 120 years or older. That means they're at least 100. They're at least 100 years old because they're supposedly 120 million. Excuse me, they're 15 million at 120 years old. So if they're 120, they're at least 100, right? The math is pretty simple. 9 trillion brings it the average age of this pool of people to 100. If it's 30 years worth instead of just 20 years worth, it's 15 trillion. If you bring it down to 95. If you bring it down to 90, excuse the 1,000 people, 120, bring it down to 90, how many people are 90 or over? Maybe 10,000? I don't have a clue, but I guarantee it's not 15 million. We do not have 15 million people that are 90 or over. We sure as hell don't have 15 million people that are 120, nor 110. So you just bring it down to 100. I brought this. It's $9 trillion worth of overpayments. Just talking about 20 years worth of that 120-year-old person that died when they were 87, actually. And all the liberals can't stand this audit work. Oh my God, I mean, we're like and you can't tax the American taxpayer. You've got to go after the people that receive this overpayment and get the money and get their assets and turn it into cash. Put it back in the Treasury Department. You talk about paying off national debt. We can pay off more than half our entire national debt just by collecting overpayments in Social Security. Holy crap. All right, it's Sunday. It's 12:21. I don't know if Marilyn's home or what the hell. Let's see if we can find her. Didn't we do this? All right, 9 trillion brings it down to 100. Whew, I'll do that number again, just to make sure, and report back to you tomorrow. All right, we're going to go to Find Friends. They call it Find My because it could be Find My Wallet, it could be Find My Computer, my iPhone, or it could be Find People. Marilyn, she's still in Lake Worth. What are you, going to spend the whole day there? What the hell's going on? She's walking around. Look at you, see, she's walking around. There she is. She's out in the middle of this park thing. Look at her, she's walking around. You can see. I mean, Apple is nuts. Look at this. We can actually see her walking around. To all these other booths. Hopefully she's saying goodbye to everybody. Let's find out where the car is. So the car has its own communications network. So we're going to go down. Here's the car. It's, you can see it. This is real live stuff here, folks. You see that says parked. If we want, you can see that. That's front, back, left, and right of where she's parked. So you can touch one of these cameras and go full screen with it. So you can see front and back. Whoop, there's some traffic. I guess she's Let's look at this camera. Yeah. So she's parked on the street. And the one thing about Tesla Void, whoop, look at this guy. He better not key the car. We can go to the front camera and see them walking in front of the car or behind the car. This is all recording, by the way. Yeah. I can toot the horn. I'm afraid to do that, though. You can flash the lights. I can make the car fart. I mean, Elon is nuts. Why would you make the car fart? You know what I'm saying? I can flash the lights. I just touched the light flashing. Let's see if we can see it in the camera. But you see people are walking, they're getting ready to get in their car, and whoop, somebody just rode by on a bicycle. Anyway, she's parked on the street. I don't know how good an idea that was. She's parked right there on 22nd Street. Right across the street from Del Lago Chapel. I don't like that idea. I think I'm going to send Marilyn a text. Time's up. I think I will. Ooh. Oh, looks like I bought them an ice maker like we have, and he just got, this one is apparently dead, doesn't make ice anymore, and here's a new one they just got. So he's showing off his picture of his new ice maker. I use distilled water in my ice maker, and unfortunately with distilled water there's no ions, there's no elements. So there's a couple of little electrodes that are in one of the pipes feeding up to feed water to the tray on top of the inside of the ice maker. But if the water is perfectly pure, it registers like there's no water in it, because these two electrodes are looking for some ions in the water, and there aren't any because it's distilled water. So I had to put a little pinch of salt in the water so that the machine knows there's water in there. Truth. I wonder how many people got rid of their machines thinking that it won't make ice because they're using distilled water. Yeah. Daniel wants me to record golf. Okay. All right, I'm going to go. I'm going to send Marilyn a text. I'm going to say, having a good time? That's one line. The next line is going to be, time's up. Get your car home before it gets destroyed by crazy people, by crazy liberals. You're parked right on the street. You know, geez. All right. I think I'm done. So I'll talk to you tomorrow morning, all right? And I'm going to do a little fine-tuning on this overpayment by Social Security. And I'm sure Pam Bondi is all over this, because I'm not like, do you really think I'm the only genius on the radio waves right now? There are a lot of people smarter than I am that I think had this figured out. And when you have 15 million people that are actually receiving Social Security benefits, and they're over 120, oh boy. That means there's some people that have been receiving illegal benefits for 30 years. Yeah, Grandpa died 30 years ago. She's 90. He died when he was 62. She's still getting his checks 30 years later. They could take everything that this little old lady has. Bam. Now she's homeless. It's going to be a mess. they're gonna start talking about this, as I say, in voz alta, in loud voices, and Pam Bondi is going to get in front of the American public and say, 15 million of you are receiving Social Security checks illegally. You need to review your affairs carefully and send us notice to stop the payments, because your husband or your spouse died, and send us a death certificate. That's what she needs to get on the air, like every day this week. Someone needs to someone in the Social Security Administration needs to verify that 15 million population, that there are 15 million people that are receiving Social Security benefits inappropriately, illegally. You call it whatever you want. Illegal is a sick bird. No, we're talking felonies here, folks. Okay, I'm done. I know I keep beating the bars on that, but this is serious. We have these trillions of dollars in deficit. We're borrowing money from China and Japan to pay $4 billion a year worth of illegal payments on our Social Security. We're borrowing that money from China, Japan, and Germany, basically. They're the ones that are buying most of our treasury bills every Thursday. Okay? And we're borrowing that money because we're making illegal payments to, 30 million people, 15 million people, at least. Because there are 15 million of them that are over 120. We know that's not true. Yeah. There's probably, another 10 million. Let's get the figure 110 and over. That's probably another 15 million, 10 million people. Ouch. All right, sports fans. You have a nice afternoon. Daniel's telling me to record golf, so when he gets off, he can come over here and watch some, apparently. And otherwise, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I found a nice one. I'm going to get to the bottom of this as much as I can. All right, so you guys stay focused, and I'll let you know what's happening. But I bet you're going to hear Pam Bondi is going to be on TV pretty soon, and she's going to tell the population of the United States, she's basically going to say on national television, folks, there are 27 million people I'm making this up. There are 30 million people over the age of 110 that are receiving Social Security benefits. The heirs or the spouses of these people need to send the death certificate of the party that you're receiving the Social Security benefits of, and by for, to stop the payment of those items. Okay? There are 30 million of you out there. So there's 65 million, listen to this, there's 65 million people receiving Social Security benefits. That's a fact. And there are 15 million of them that are over the age of 120. That's another fact. You just merge those two numbers. So 25%, at least 25% of the Social Security recipients aren't alive. Okay? It's simple as that. There shouldn't be 65 million people receiving Social Security benefits. There should be like maybe 30 million. There's probably 35 million people or the heirs of those dead people are receiving Social Security benefits illegally. So it's not 65 million people. It should be like there's probably 30 million people that are like me, that are 80 years old receiving Social Security benefits. I'm alive. Okay, Marilyn and I are both alive. We're part of that 65 million, which probably is 30 million, because that other 35 million, they're dead. They've been dead for decades, apparently. Because they're not 120 years old, that's for sure. So if they died when they're 90, that's 30 years worth of payments have been being paid either to a surviving spouse of that 90-year-old person, or the son, daughter, or grandson, granddaughter of grandpa that died, 30 years ago. Woo! Goddamn. So you not only want to stop it, now you want to collect the overpayments. That's going to be, there could be 20 or 30 million lawsuits filed this year just to try to claw back whatever amount of money, so maybe the government settles. You receive $50 million inappropriately. Pay me 25 and we'll call it a day. There are a lot of people that are going to take that deal, or else the government is going to they're going to seize stuff, because the IRS, they have the ability to seize stuff. They like jump across all this legal crap. They just seize it. They don't have to go to court to seize it. They just seize it. And then you can go to court to try to get it back. That's the luck. All right. I'm done. Have a great afternoon. Watch some golf. We'll clear this all up tomorrow, all right? Don't worry about it today. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Be there or be square.